One of the things that I find the most amazing about the love of Christ is this notion that he's willing to take us even though he's the only option we have left. I mean, none of us in our earthly lives would be willing to be accepted by somebody or to be part of their life because they're all that's left. But basically, that's what my life had become. I had gotten to the point where God was the only thing that was left for me to hold on to. And at that time, I reached out to him. A good analogy I could use to describe this would be real estate. Real estate people that are enthusiasts of real estate are always looking for a distressed sale or an owner that's forced to sell. And if my life was a house, I had driven it into the ground to the point where it was a distress sale and I was forced to sell. And God was the only offer that I had been receiving. And at that point, I accepted his offer with no counter offers, and I allowed him to buy my house. I understood that he was purchasing it with his blood, and basically turned over the deed to my life. I gave him my will in my life. Now, I didn't understand exactly what that meant. I thought that meant I was just going to be able to live in the house and continue to do what I had always done. For a while, I didn't let him in the door. But eventually, I was able to let God into the door of my house, and together we were able to go through my house, clean my house, fix my house, repair what was broken, to the point where God was comfortable living in my house. It was at that point that he was able to start doing something with my house, which would be my life. One thing about God's house is that the door is always open. He made me a person that was receptive and accessible to other people, which is a gift and a talent I had never had before. I had always been pretty closed off and afraid of people. So it was through that God taught me relationships are the most important thing and the treasure that we actually have while we're here. The gifts and talents and faith it took to turn my life over to God, I believe he granted. I brought nothing into this except my distress and my pain. What he's been able to do with that is turn me into a person who reflects him and his values. I'm honest, I'm accessible, I'm helpful, I'm kind, I'm able to empathize with other people. I do a lot of work with alcoholics and addicts who themselves are distressed, homeless, returning veterans, prison release, mentally ill. These are all populations that I'm able to work with. I mentor people spiritually, and all this and the gifts and talents required to do that have come about because by bringing God the little that I had to offer, he poured himself into me and he invested in me. And I can only hope and pray that the return that God is getting on his investment is his glory. And I try to get up in the morning, I try to live each day, trying to figure out what God wants me to do, trying to be as helpful as I can to others, because now I work for him. He is the type of employer that would never send me out to do what he wants me to do without giving me everything I need, and my life is a testimony to that. So for little to no investment, God poured his investment into me, and the results have been far greater than I ever imagined they could.